Since 2019, the U.S. cattle herd has experienced significant liquidation. What has gotten less attention, though, is the Canadian cattle industry has also been experiencing the same contraction over the past few years. While this summer's cattle inventory report showed that the U.S. herd has yet to begin notable expansion, Canadian herd growth is underway. What spurred the latest contraction phase, though? Well, like most cattle cycles, drought played a role in contraction phases. Widespread drought affected primary cattle areas across Canada beginning in 2021. Multi-year drought has impacted the Canadian cattle country, leading to a continuation of poor pasture conditions and feed outlooks, which has led to herd liquidation. The Canadian Drought Monitor showed that drought was still impacting cattle areas in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba earlier this year, but increased rainfall over the past 30 days has benefited cattle country in southern Alberta and Saskatchewan. As of January 1, Canada's cattle herd stood at 10.9 million head, down 0.7% from last year, and the smallest since 1988. But by July 1st, the trend looked steadier. Total inventories showed little change, and beef cow numbers have even edged higher, marking the first year-over-year increase since 2020. Beef heifer replacements increased for a second year in July. Statistics Canada said higher breeding stock retention, coupled with increased birth rates between January and June, helped support herd inventories. Additionally, the calf crop during the period increased for the first time since 2021. The Canadian feedlot inventory was the only segment that saw a year-over-year decline. Unsurprisingly, producers holding back heifers for breeding contributed to that decline. That will likely translate to lower slaughter rates until continual increases in steers and heifers lead to higher feedlot supplies. Heavier carcass weights are expected to offset some of the declines in slaughter, leaving 2025 beef production only slightly lower year over year, according to the USDA Canadian Attaché Post. Demand for beef remains strong domestically, but economic uncertainty and a weaker Canadian dollar are shaping trade flows and consumer purchasing power. Canadian imports of lean beef are expected to rise in 2025 to meet steady ground beef demand, but total import volumes are still forecast to be lower than in 2024. On the export side of things, a smaller calf crop and tighter cow supplies are expected to limit Canadian beef exports this year. Feeder and slaughter cattle prices did reach record highs over the first half of 2025 as global demand for beef remained elevated. Signs of herd stabilization and growth have certainly appeared recently, but like the U.S., the Canadian cattle herd market will likely see remnants of supply shocks in and outside of feedlots. Total North American cattle supplies did total 106 million head at the beginning of the second half of 2025, down 1% from July 2023, and the lowest in more than 5 decades. Low cattle inventories in Canada will challenge supplies that are typically sent south to the U.S. for slaughter. Meanwhile, other countries will buffer lower domestic production, such as imports from Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, and Brazil. However, with total U.S. beef supplies forecast to dip in 2026, cattle and beef prices could remain high for the near future. Thanks for watching. I'm Dawson Schmidt, and this has been a special report from Trader PhD.